Longsword has quite the reputation online for tripping people endlessly, which isn't entirely unfair. It's got pretty large sweeping attacks, and historically has been the weapon with pretty high popularity. You probably have more than a few memories where a longsword user would just swing their blade around like they just don't care, interrupting your DPS combo and making you very sad. But now, you're the tripping master, so let's learn how to both trip people and the monster. Let's get straight into the general controls and guild style. X performs an overhead slash, suitable for longer openings. Pressing X again performs another overhead slash. A is a thrust, which is better for poking. Pressing X after a thrust results in rising slash. Press X and A to perform fade slash, which both deals damage and makes you back off of the monster. Pressing left or right while pressing X and A in idle results in a left fade slash, making you move to, guess what, the left side while attacking. You can perform a right fade slash from idle by using the special attack button. Otherwise, mid-combo, you can fade slash in a direction by pressing on the control stick in the direction you want to go. All attacks can go into fade slash, so think about using it when you need to reposition. Before we move on, let's discuss the spirit gauge, the foundation of longsword. The spirit gauge fills when you connect non-hunter art attacks that do not consume spirit gauge. The softer the hit zone you hit, the more charge you gain. Normally, the spirit gauge drains over time, but if you fill it completely, it starts flashing. While flashing, it stops draining over time and confers a plus 13% sharpness bonus, making you bounce less and boosting your damage output. The R button attacks, known as the spirit slashes, consume spirit gauge in order to boost damage, prevent bouncing, and extend your spirit combos. Spirit slash 1 can be performed with R, or from sheath with R, X, and A. After Spirit slash 1, you have two options. You can press X to perform mid-spirit thrust, which can help extend your spirit combo if you don't have enough spirit, or if you have a pretty large opening. Pressing R after either Spirit slash 1 or the mid-spirit thrust performs Spirit slash 2. After this, you can press X again to perform the mid-spirit rising slash. After either Spirit slash 2 or mid-spirit rising slash, press R again for Spirit slash 3. Finally, press R again to perform Spirit round slash. This attack is special in several ways. For one, it forces you to sheath afterwards, and it's got plenty of end lag for you to contend with. To help with the end lag, you can cancel out of it sooner with Hunter Arts. Next, this attack also moves you forward a bit, like the Fade Slashes. Good positioning and timing lets you dodge attacks with this. Finally, the most important part is that it levels up your spirit gauge when you connect with it. Each time you land a spirit round slash, the color surrounding your spirit gauge changes. First is white, then yellow, then red. Each color boosts your attack by an increasing percentage, and each level also has a decreasingly short duration. When a color runs out, it degrades in level. If you land a spirit round slash while you have red spirit gauge, then you refill its duration completely. After any Fade Slash, you can press R to perform a Rushing Spirit Slash if you have Spirit. This Rushing Spirit Slash takes the place of Spirit Slash 2 in a Spirit combo, letting you go directly into Spirit Slash 3 or into Mid-Spirit Rising Slash. This attack can let you reposition fairly well if you press on the control stick in the direction you want to go, so experiment. In midair, you can press X for the Jumping Slash. Or press R. Pressing R lets you go into two different attacks depending on the color of your Spirit gauge. If it's colorless, you go into Jumping Spirit slash 1. But otherwise, it performs Jumping Spirit slash 2. One last shout out. Longsword attacks grant super armor during use, and if you hit the monster with the center of the blade, you gain a small 5% sharpness boost. It's combo time. Perform the Dragon Ball Z power-up sequence by performing overhead slash, then looping overhead slash 2, thrust, rising slash. This lets you charge up spirit gauge fairly quickly. I'm sure I don't need to expound on this, but the spirit combo has a few variants which you can mix up depending on the length of your opening and your spirit gauge state. Don't forget that Phase Slash is available from every attack, letting you cancel out of a full spirit combo whenever necessary. Be creative! Think on your feet! The Rushing Spirit Slash can also make the best use of openings, depending on the monster. Take for example the Baka Gaijin combo. Overhead slash, side fade slash, rushing spirit slash, then insert either Spirit slash 3 or mid spirit rising slash, and finish it with Spirit round slash. Next up is Striker LS. Striker LS plays like Freedom Unite's Longsword, but with Spirit Gauge leveling available. The side fade slashes are disabled, only letting you perform normal fade slashes. You also can't perform a rushing Spirit Slash after this fade slash. Striker also cannot perform the jumping Spirit Slash 2 midair. Let's discuss Aerial style. Aerial removes Spirit Slash 1. Aerial also cannot perform a rushing Spirit Slash, but in exchange, your midair attacks are improved. X midair performs the aerial slashes, while pressing R results in either aerial Spirit Slash 1 with colorless Spirit Gauge, or aerial Spirit Slash 3 with a colored Spirit Gauge. As you can imagine, you can go directly into Spirit Round Slash from this. After you do aerial slashes, you can do either Spirit Slash 1 without a colored Spirit Gauge, or Spirit Slash 2 with a colored Spirit Gauge as soon as you land. Time for Adept LS. Adept prevents you from doing normal fade slashes. XA goes into left fade slash instead. You also cannot do Spirit Round Slash, so you can't level your Spirit Gauge that way. Instead, after an Adept dodge, you press X for an Adept cut-in, and R after that for the Adept Spirit Reckoning. Land the Spirit Reckoning second hit, and you level your Spirit Gauge. You also cannot perform Jumping Spirit Slash 2. Do remember that, despite the loss of the Spirit Round Slash, your Spirit attacks still do a bunch of damage by themselves. Sprinkle them into normal combos whenever you can. Finally, it's Alchemy. Alchemy can't perform Fade Slashes with XA, but instead with A you perform left Fade Slash. Same goes for right Fade Slash. You also cannot perform a rushing Spirit Slash after those attacks. Additionally, you cannot perform the Spirit combo extensions. Neither Mid-Spirit Thrust nor Mid-Spirit Rising Slash are available. Thrust is also only performed after Overhead Slash 2 with X. Like always, rolling forward and pressing R and Y with the Alchemy barrel selected performs the Alchemy barrel sheave. To charge your Alchemy gauge faster, perform any of Spirit Slash 2, 3, or Spirit Round Slash. Let's discuss style performance. Striker is the best out of the 5 styles, allowing your pick of the litter of the fantastic longsword arts. It gives up relatively little, but you do have to do the full spirit combo to level your gauge. No cheating it out, unlike Guild, which can cheat it out in several ways. For the cost of 1 HA slot, your Fade Slashes gain their normal utility back, which can be quite potent on several monsters. Adept used to be the king back in Gen, but the nerf to Spirit Reckoning speed slowed it down considerably. It's still quite good, especially considering the meaty damage output on the Spirit Reckoning. Alchemy is slower paced than Striker, considering the linearized Spirit combo, but it's still very usable if you like your side Fade Slashes. Aerial's got a big problem. The lack of Spirit Slash 1 on the ground makes it so that some matchups can be big problems if you can't land the full combo after an aerial hop. Once you get past that, Aerial levels the gauge extremely quickly, so consider taking Sakura Slash in order to provide some insurance. However, it is still aerial, so if I was less generous, I'd say it's akin to swinging around a pool noodle in midair. It's Hunter Art time. Sakura Slash causes you to jump backwards a bit, then slashes forward twice. When you land a slash, follow-up slashes occur shortly afterwards. Connecting at least one of these slashes levels your spirit gauge. Do note that you can change the direction you use this Hunter Art in by pressing on the control stick. Unhinged Spirit charges up, then unleashes a Spirit Slash 1 while letting you gain infinite spirit for a time. Pretty simple. After the duration runs out, you'll have to recharge your spirit gauge so it starts flashing again. Critical Juncture causes you to raise your blade while facing a direction. If a monster's attack connects, then you unleash a powerful vertical slash immediately, and negate the incoming attack while doing so. Like other counters, Critical Juncture only negates one hitbox. If an attack has multiple hitboxes, you can get cancelled out of this Hunter Art, so be wary. Devouring Demon channels demonic energy, then buffs yourself. While active, your health will steadily drain over time, but your attacks increase, and you recover red health when you connect with attacks. The higher rank, the more attack you gain, but the duration also decreases. The higher the rank of Devouring Demon, the more quickly your health drains. Let's analyze these Hunter Arts. Critical Juncture's massive damage output that occurs instantly without the need for setup makes it a fantastic hunter art to just slap on anything, even on Adept's one slot. Just make sure you're not eating a multi-hitbox attack move and that you're actually facing the attack to ensure you land the counter. Sakura Slash both dumps damage and levels your spirit gauge. The utility on this bad boy is the best of the LS Hunter arts, letting you cancel from a spirit round slash into it to instantly level your gauge twice. On Adept, it can be used to maintain your spirit gauge's color if you can't find the windows for the Reckoning, or on Aerial, it's great if you find yourself constantly stuck in colorless spirit gauge. Unhinged Spirit's usefulness depends on the windows you get. Big windows mean you can chain multiple spirit combos together quickly without having to stop and regain spirit, but conversely, if you can't make use of the windows, then you may only get 1 or 2 combos off, which makes it worse than simply recharging your spirit gauge normally. Devouring Demon would be a great buffing HA, if it were not for the fact that its duration really hampers its use. Rank 3 lasts for 45 seconds, which is 50% longer than a Might Pill. On top of that, the whole life drain thing is liable to actually make you take more damage if you eat a lot of chip damage, and it doesn't recover actual missing health. Still, if you find yourself being able to use Unhinged Spirit on a monster well, you can likely use Devouring Demon to really amp up your damage output. So what are your equipment choices throughout the game? Like most other weapons, LS can get by with the standard Petrified, Obsidian, and Elder weapons, and the armor is the same too. Bouja into Rathalos Mix, into HR Rathalos Mix, into Saint Cross. In low rank, the Petrified Saber is a mainstay, remaining relevant with the green sharpness it gets in Village 3. The Plume Sword is also a great way to get early green sharpness and free yourself from the low sharpness modifier. The Iron Katana also kicks in around this point and remains relevant up to Village 4. Don't forget to pick up the Bouja set early on in Village 2 for enhanced offense, optionally grabbing Sena if you really want Razor Sharp. In Village 5, both Gamif's and Mizutsune's longswords are pretty great, Gamif having higher raw and solid sharpness in tandem, making it generally solid around this point. I'm sorry, Astalos, your attack power is just a tiny bit too low for me, and Longsword loves its high attack power, given all the multipliers it has from the Spirit Gauge mechanic. Speaking of multipliers, Rathalos' armor as well as his mix set debut in Village 5, so grab his stuff. Village 6 is where the Tetsukabra LS, Saikuchi, makes its stand with it having a Chonker's 160 raw and solid green. Tiger and Edge also exists, and is the first major LS to have blue sharpness, no matter how thin it is. Consider sidetracking yourself into low-rank hub so you can get absolute readiness early on with Wyvern Sandrunners and HR3. High rank is where the Obsidian Saber starts to get good, with it having a solid 160 raw and no negative affinity, unlike the Tigrix LS. It continues being dominant throughout the majority of high rank, right up until Village 10 where you gain access to the Discovery Saber if you also have Hyper Hunter tickets from hub. It's got a good array of stats, high raw, good sharpness, and some natural affinity. Backtracking a bit, Sena S comes into play in Village 8, and then Rathalos in Village 9. Get his mix set. It'll help you progress into G rank. If you want to take on the rest of high rank content, then snag Blistering Govendon, the Hellblade Longsword. It performs admirably in most content, only losing in lengthy hunts, where the other recommendation, Tigra Need, would cut slightly above it. Again, Silver Soul is a solid recommendation here, with higher soul for the completionists out there. For G rank content, we got the classic Elder Saber. Easy to make, easy to upgrade. Kinda. I've heard some rumbling about how hard it is to get G-Rank village tickets, but if you work on your village requests, you should be able to get it soon enough. We also got Great Macau's Rogue Master, a G-Rank upgrade option mainly focused on getting a longer shade of white for your weapon. Senator Cross comes into play with G2 and is going to be your main option throughout the rest of G-Rank. The anti-Lao option is, as always, Valstrax's Longsword, Dragonstar Hakta. You might have a slightly harder time than other weapons, since Lao isn't really receptive to Ra, which LS loves, but you should be able to spam Unhinged Spirit and Devouring Demon at his crotch, so it balances out. Don't forget Tremorez on your specialist set. In G3, we got the Tamono-wo, Mizutsune's LS, which has a solid array of stats around this point at 270 Raw. Similarly, we also got Wyvern Blade Flare, which is an upgrade from Rathian's LS, and uses both Rathian's and Rathalos' parts. Once you get past the initial upgrade, it's surprisingly easy to upgrade to get to this point, only requiring G-Rank Rathalos parts. And while you're at it, why not pick up Rathalos' full set, or his mix set? One last option for G4 is the Senator Sickle, the rare 2 Senator Longsword. It jumps from 270 attack to 340 attack on its final upgrade, which only needs some G-Rank Regius parts, and it boasts a fantastic length of white. Think of this as your prelude to the actual endgame choice. Speaking of endgame, let's get into it with what Longsword wants. In terms of armor skills, it doesn't need anything special. Just use the classic Blade Master skill priorities. Sharpness skills to support your weapon, then affinity boosters such as Weakness Exploit, Critical Eye, Critical Boost, and Challenger. If it wasn't obvious before, Longsword really likes high amounts of raw attack power, so looking for weapons with as few sharpness requirements as possible combined with a high attack is what you want to maximize its strengths. Alright, enough beating around the bush. The best longsword, and perhaps the most visually polarizing one, is the Rust Razor Splitter. It's got a solid 330 raw, and well, just look at that massive white sharpness. No wonder why everyone uses it. The Hunter Art charge rate boost really helps out Striker LS as well, given its 3 HA slots, so it even helps you get Critical Juncture out way more quickly. It's all downhill from here, but at least you got more visually appealing longswords from here on out. Meretseger, Alka's longsword, requires a bit more from you on the sharpness armor skill side, but it's got the same amount of raw as the Rust Razor Splitter while also packing purple sharpness rather than white. It loses Deviant Boost though, so say goodbye to spamming Critical Junctures day in and day out. Mutinous Swirl, Drill Tusk's longsword, demands at least sharpness +1 and razor sharp. On the bright side, it does have Deviant Boost, has purple sharpness, and it kicks slightly harder than base Rust Razor at 340 attack rather than 330. If you want to mix it up, you could do worse. Authority Nonius is an alternative if you just want to run razor sharp. The base 25% affinity makes it real easy to get to 100% affinity as well. Rounding out the top longswords, we have an elemental longsword. The old Fatalis longsword, Fatalis Veneranda, is basically a lightning rod with its astounding 68 thunder. This makes it the highest valued element out of all longswords. Look, you're still gonna lose against Rust Razor, mostly because of the all-important Deviant Boost, but hey, we're trying to have some fun here. The base weapon isn't that bad either, having some natural white with purple at sharpness +1. Ideally, you'd probably slap at least sharpness +1 and razor sharp here. From here on out, we'll cover the more useless elemental and status longswords. Look, playing elemental or status longsword is like voting for a third party in a US election. You're going to lose, you're just choosing by how much you want to lose. Also, this meta is significantly less fleshed out, mostly because Rust Razor is just that good. So if these recommendations seem more vibe-based, that's because they are. For fire, we got Dread King's Heir, the Dread King Raphalos Longsword. Water is Soulseer Mizutsune's Tamakiheru Romimetsu, while ice is the Elderfrost Behemoth. Make use of that massive 370 attack. Dragon is Valstrax's Magnastar Yej, mostly because of that sharpness bar. Moving on to status, we got Yangaruga's Occult Daito for poison, Najarala's Coiled Rashnail for para, and Nightcloak Malfestios' Cloaked Duke for sleep. There's a two-way tie for blast. Hyper Brachydios' Pyro Annihilator, or Hellblade Glavenus' Grievous Vandanova. Well, I sure am glad that longsword isn't massively broken in this game. Sure, Adept in Generations was kinda busted, but they corrected that in GU by nerfing the speed of its Adept Spirit Reckoning. Striker LS deserves the top spot in this game, so you can see plenty of its generally fantastic Hunter arts. Yeah, Capcom sure does love its longsword. And hey, Spirit Gauge mechanics in this game are way more forgiving than in 4U. Red Spirit Gauge actually refreshing on Spirit Round Slash, rather than just slowing down the inevitable, is great, and not completely losing your Spirit Gauge's color when a level expires is also nice. Oh, and the different styles aren't bad in general either. All of them are at least solid. Aerial being the weakest is compensated for its ability to just spam Spirit Round Slashes once you get at least White Spirit Gauge, means it can be pretty fun just tossing them out all the time. Overall, Capcom being generally nice to Longsword means that it's pretty fun to play in this game in general, and it's also quite strong without making the user lose brain cells. Now, get out there and get yourself plenty of Spirit Round Slash end screens. Oh, hey, you're still here? Aren't you supposed to be going and using Sakura Slash on a Hellblade's tail or something? No? You think I Forgot something? No. My notes here are pretty complete. I don't usually leave things out of my video. A sixth style? No, I'm pretty sure that doesn't exist. Valor? Oh. Oh, right. Brave Longsword. What? You want me to call it Valor? Look, if you're gonna make me talk about Brave Longsword, the least you can do is indulge me. Brave Longsword, one oxymoron, gives you a straight up counter on R in Brave state, instantly countering anything and everything under the sun, such as attacks, roars, or even just light itself with a Gypceris flash with a 51% damage counter, like a miniature critical juncture. I mean, do you want to cover the moveset changes, or like... Okay, fine, for good measure. In any state, you can follow up the Brave Sheave with X for a Brave Round Slash, X and A for a Brave Fade Slash, pressing to the side for a Brave Side Fade Slash, or R for a Brave Rushing Slash. Outside of Brave State, you can't perform any Fade Slashes, Spirit Round Slash, or do a Rushing Slash after a Brave Fade Slash. While in quote-unquote Brave State, your Spirit Gauge turns into a blue color, which grants you plus 15% attack. Spirit Slash 1 turns into Brave Spirit Slash 1, simply adding the counter to the first 6 frames when you press R. If a monster attack connects during discard point, you counter with a Brave counter. I'd say remember to only use this for single hitbox attacks, but honestly, putting 2 and 2 together is probably the highest form of math you can do if you exclusively play Brave Longsword. If you don't follow up with the counter, you can press R again after Brave Spirit Slash 1 or the base Mid Spirit Thrust to get Spirit Slash 2. After Brave Spirit Slash 2, Mid Spirit Rising Slash, or Brave Counter, you can press R to get Brave Spirit Slash 3. Look, let me make it clear for those of you who don't eat glue. The counter's strong, but the main benefit of landing the counter is being able to instantly get to Brave Spirit Slash 3 so you can follow it with the Brave Reckoning Slash, your true damage dump. If you can't land these frequently enough, you're losing to a competent striker longsword player. So try to at least land those Brave Reckoning Slashes. Otherwise, I will notice if you're just spamming the counter and Brave Sheathing 24/7, and I will judge you for it. One last thing. Pressing X after Brave Spirit Slash 3 resets your Spirit combo by letting you use Brave Spirit Slash 1 again. This means that you can chain 2 counters together. Oh, you want combos? No, I'm not giving you combos. I don't want to talk about this thing more than I have to. I also never use it, so there's that. I do have combos listed out in the text guide, so use that if you're really curious. Beware though, it contains lots of weeb jokes. It goes without saying, but Brave Longsword broke the game so hard and inspired Capcom to make a game entirely dedicated to counters. Absolutely terrifying. Look, if you really want to play GU and you just looked up this guide because you were looking for the strongest weapon style combo, this is one of 2 of them. But ignoring all the other styles is a travesty. LS is one of the strongest weapons in the whole game, and it's not just because of Valor. 3 of its Hunter Arts are fantastic, and all of them are at least solid. All of its styles? Pretty damn good. I wasn't kidding when I said Striker LS is extremely strong, and yet people ignore all of them because LS is basically married to Valor. If nothing else, I hope that this guide actually lets people know that there's a fantastic world of Longsword outside of Valor.